AITA for calling off my wedding after my fiancée defended the man who insulted me? I'm Robert, 37, and I was supposed to be the groom that weekend. There was a half-finished seating chart on my kitchen table, vendor emails piling up in my inbox, gift bags stacked against the wall, and a fiancée who kept telling me her best friend was just protective. By the week of the wedding, I wasn't worried about cold feet. I was worried that the loudest voice in my relationship belonged to a guy who was not marrying her. Natalie was 34, and by the time we got engaged, our relationship felt less like a gamble and more like the next step. We had routines. We had favorite takeout orders. We had Sunday mornings where she made coffee too strong and I pretended not to notice because she liked being the one who made it. We had holidays with both families, arguments about towels, stupid inside jokes, and years of slowly building a life that felt ordinary in the best possible way. That was why I didn't treat the first few Mason comments like a major threat. Mason had been Natalie's best friend since long before me. He was 35, loud, charming when he wanted to be, and always close enough to make everyone feel like he belonged in every room Natalie entered. At first, I tried to be mature about it. I understood people having history. I understood close friendships. I even understood a little teasing. What I did not understand was why every joke landed on me. The first time he called me Natalie's retirement plan, I laughed because everyone else laughed. The second time he called me safe, but not exciting. I gave him a look and changed the subject. The third time, at a dinner with some of her friends, he raised his glass and said, "Here's to Robert, the human seatbelt. Not fun, but I guess he keeps you alive." Natalie slapped his arm and said, "Mason, stop." But she was laughing when she said it. I looked at her across the table and waited for her to say something real. Something like, "Don't talk about him like that." Instead, she leaned toward me and whispered, "Don't make that face. He jokes like that with everyone." I said, quietly, "He doesn't joke like that with everyone. He jokes like that about me." She rolled her eyes like I had just ruined the mood. For a while, that became the pattern. Mason made a comment, people laughed awkwardly, Natalie minimized it, and I was left deciding whether to be the angry fiancé or the guy who swallowed it again. He would text her late at night about wedding stress, send old photos of them from years before, and pop into conversations like he was the unofficial third person in the engagement. If Natalie and I had a disagreement about music or food or the guest list, somehow Mason would have an opinion by the next day. One night, Natalie and I were sitting on the floor surrounded by envelopes and place cards. I had spent 20 minutes trying to keep two divorced relatives away from each other on the seating chart, and Natalie was laughing at her phone. "What?" I asked. She held up the screen for half a second, then pulled it back. "Mason said you probably have a color-coded emergency exit plan for the reception." I didn't laugh. She sighed. "Robert, what did you tell him?" I told him to shut up. "Did you?" She looked back down at her phone. "Basically." I put the pen down. "Nat, I'm not asking you to end a friendship. I'm asking you not to let your friend insult your fiancé." Her shoulders tightened. "You always turn this into me not defending you." "Because you don't. He's been in my life forever. And I'm supposed to be your husband in a few days." She stared at me like I had said something unfair. That was one of the first moments when the wedding stopped feeling like a celebration and started feeling like a test I hadn't agreed to take. The group chat made it worse. There was one for the wedding party, one for immediate family logistics, one for the weekend schedule, and one that started as a fun chat for pictures and jokes. Mason treated all of them like a stage. When I asked whether everyone had confirmed transportation from the hotel to the venue, Mason replied, "Robert has entered project manager mode. Everybody hide." When Natalie mentioned that I wanted the rehearsal to start on time, he wrote, "Imagine marrying a man who schedules vibes." Then, a few days before the wedding, someone asked what people were most excited about. Mason replied, "Seeing if Robert lasts one full year as her husband." There were 3 laughing emojis. Then silence. Natalie didn't respond. I stared at that message for a long time. I could feel my face getting hot, but I did not type back. I took a screenshot, locked my phone, and went into the kitchen. Natalie was rinsing a mug in the sink. I said, "Did you see what Mason wrote?" She didn't turn around. "He's being stupid." "Are you going to say anything?" "I don't want to start drama in the group chat 4 days before the wedding." He started it. "Robert, please. Can we not make every Mason joke a federal case?" I remember the water still running while she said that. It bothered me more than it should have. Maybe because it was such a normal sound in the middle of something that felt so wrong. I said, private relationship details are not group chat material, and he doesn't get to keep testing how much disrespect I'll tolerate just because everyone is stressed. Natalie turned off the faucet. Testing. That's what it feels like. Her mouth tightened. Maybe if you stopped acting insecure, he'd have nothing to joke about. That one sat between us for a while. I didn't yell. I didn't leave the room. I just said, I won't compete with your best friend for basic respect. She crossed her arms. Nobody is asking you to compete. You're creating a problem. That was the sentence she used whenever she did not want to look at the problem. I was creating it by noticing it. I was making it weird by naming it. I was insecure because I refused to smile at another man publicly undermining my place in my own relationship. The night before the party that ended everything, my friend Chris called me. Chris was one of my groomsmen, 38, blunt in the way only someone who has known you for years can be. He didn't waste time. Listen, he said, I'm not trying to stir anything up, but Mason is baiting you. I sat down on the edge of the bed. Natalie was in the shower, and my suit bag was hanging on the closet door. What happened? I stepped outside earlier during setup. Mason was out by the coolers with two of Natalie's friends. I heard him say, if he snaps before the wedding, she'll finally see it. I didn't say anything right away. Chris lowered his voice. You're not imagining it. He wants you to react. Did Natalie hear it? I don't know, but he said it like he had said it before. I looked at the open spreadsheet on my laptop. Final headcount, vendor balances, shuttle times, all the stupid little details that make a wedding real. Chris said, walk out clean if you have to. Don't let him turn you into the story. That sentence stayed with me. The next afternoon, Jenna gave me another warning, though she tried to wrap it in softer words. Jenna was 33, one of Natalie's bridesmaids, and usually the kind of person who avoided conflict so hard that you could see her physically shrinking from it. She caught me while I was carrying a tray of plastic cups from the kitchen to the backyard. The party was supposed to be casual, just close friends, the wedding party, and a few family members who had already arrived. Paper plates, catered trays, folding chairs, coolers, music from a Bluetooth speaker, the kind of gathering where people could relax before the formal chaos. Jenna touched my arm and said, Robert, can I say something without making tonight weird? I almost laughed. That depends on what it is. She glanced toward the living room where Natalie was standing with Mason and two bridesmaids. Mason was leaning close to her, saying something that made her laugh too loudly. Jenna said, some people think if they call it protecting Natalie, it doesn't count as disrespecting you. I kept my voice even. Some people meaning Mason? She looked down. I should have said something sooner. What am I walking into tonight? I don't know. Just don't give him the reaction he wants. That was 2 warnings in less than 24 hours. I did not feel paranoid. I felt alert. There is a difference. I walked into that party with one decision already made. I was not going to beg anyone to respect me. I was also not going to give Mason the explosion he clearly wanted. If he pushed, I would stay calm. If Natalie defended me, we could handle the rest later. If she didn't, then I would know what I needed to know. For the first hour, the party almost felt normal. My mother, Linda, hugged Natalie and told her she looked beautiful. Natalie's father, Mark, shook my hand with that serious father of the bride look he had been wearing all week, like he was trying to keep the whole event from tipping over. Someone's aunt was arranging cookies on a tray. 2 groomsmen were arguing over whether the playlist had too much country music. Tessa, a shared friend, was taking little videos of people laughing and waving at the camera. The whole thing looked like a celebration. Underneath, though, it felt like everyone was waiting to see who would blink first. Mason started drinking fast. Not sloppy at first, just louder. He stood near Natalie with one hand around a plastic cup and the other hand moving like he was hosting the party himself. He interrupted stories. He made himself the center of every circle. Natalie kept smiling at him in that nervous way people smile when they are hoping charm will stay charming. Then he looked at the seating chart printout someone had left on the side table. Oh, thank God, he said loudly. Robert has alphabetized the wedding vows, too, right? A few people laughed. I picked up a bottle of water and said nothing. Mason grinned at me. Relax, man. I'm joking. I'm relaxed, I said. That seemed to annoy him. A little later, when Natalie mentioned being tired from the final wedding errands, Mason said, You used to be fun before you started planning your life around bedtime and shared calendars. Natalie gave him a look. Mason. What? I'm just saying. Marriage has already aged her. Chris was standing by the cooler. He caught my eye and shook his head once. Don't take the bait. I didn't. The music was still playing, but quieter. Conversations kept stopping and restarting. You could feel people trying to pretend Mason was just being Mason. That was the trick with guys like him. If everyone had accepted his behavior for years, then the first person who refused to accept it looked like the problem. Mason waited until more people were gathered before he went sharper. He raised his cup and said, "I want to make a toast." Natalie stiffened. I had told her days earlier that I didn't want Mason giving any kind of toast. She had said, "It's not a toast. He just wants to say something sweet." There was nothing sweet in his face. Mark stepped closer, probably ready to shut it down if it got stupid. My mother was sitting in a folding chair near the patio door, watching carefully. Tessa had her phone up again, recording little clips of the night. Mason said, to Natalie, "The most loyal person I know. Maybe too loyal, honestly." A couple people chuckled, uncertain. He continued, "Some people settle down because they're in love. Some people settle down because the spreadsheet says it's time." The laughter died fast. Natalie said, "Okay, that's enough." But she said it like someone telling a dog to get off the couch, not like someone defending the man she was supposed to marry. Mason turned toward me. "I'm just saying this whole thing has big settlement plan energy." One bridesmaid muttered, "Mason, sit down." He ignored her. "Robert's a good guy, I guess. Stable. Predictable. The kind of guy your parents love because they don't have to worry about him doing anything interesting." I could hear the ice shifting in someone's cup. The speaker was still playing, but someone finally lowered the volume. It made the silence worse. I looked at Natalie. Her cheeks were red. She looked embarrassed, yes, but not angry on my behalf. Angry that the moment was ugly. Angry that people were looking. Mason pointed his cup at me. "Come on, man," he said. "Deep down, you know she'd be happier if she didn't have to drag you into her life." There it was. Not a joke. Not a bad choice of words. Not wedding stress. A direct hit. I felt the whole room waiting for me to become what he wanted me to be. Angry, loud, jealous, unstable. The man who proved his point. Instead, I set my bottle of water on the table and looked straight at him. "The only person dragging himself into this wedding is you." It was not shouted. It didn't need to be. Mason's face changed. For the first time that night, he looked less amused than exposed. "What did you say?" he snapped. I said, "You heard me." He stepped forward, not close enough to touch me, but close enough to make people move. Chris immediately stepped between us without making a scene. Mason laughed, but it sounded forced. "See? This is what I mean. He can't take a joke. If he can't handle me, how's he going to handle being married to you?" I looked at Natalie again. This was her moment. Not mine. Hers. She stepped between us, but not facing Mason. She faced me. "Robert," she said, sharp and shaky, "apologize." I thought I had misheard her. For what? For embarrassing him. A strange calm settled over me. It was not peace. It was clarity. I said, "He just told a room full of people that you'd be happier without me. He's drunk. He's clear enough to aim." Mason scoffed behind her. Unbelievable. Natalie's eyes were wet now, but her voice got harder. "You always do this. You make everything a pride thing." "No," I said. "I made it a respect thing." She looked around the room. Everyone was watching. Her father had his jaw clenched. My mother was frozen in her chair. Jenna had one hand over her mouth. Tessa still had her phone in her hand, though it was lowered now. Natalie said, "If you don't apologize to him right now, then maybe this wedding is over." The room went completely still. And I remember thinking, there it is. Not because I wanted the wedding to end. I didn't. I loved Natalie. I had loved her through bad days, family stress, wedding chaos, and 1,000 little flaws because that is what you do when you are building a life with someone. But love is not the same as surrendering your dignity in front of a man who is trying to take your place. I looked at the woman I was supposed to marry and realized she had not asked Mason to apologize for humiliating me. She had asked me to apologize for refusing to be humiliated. So I nodded once. "Then it's over." Natalie blinked like I had slapped her. I picked up my keys from the side table. My hands were steady, which surprised me. I turned to the room and said, "I'm sorry you all had to see this. I won't marry someone who thinks defending myself is the thing I should apologize for. Thank you for coming." Natalie grabbed my arm. "Robert, don't you dare walk out right now." I gently moved her hand off me. You gave me the choice in front of everyone. I'm answering in front of everyone. Mason muttered something under his breath. I didn't even look at him. Chris followed me to the driveway. Do you want me to come with you? He asked. No. Stay for a few minutes. Make sure my mom gets home okay. He nodded. You did not start that. I know. That was the first time all night my voice almost broke. I drove around for nearly an hour before I went home. Not because I was being dramatic, but because I could not sit in the apartment with the seating chart, the gift bags, and the framed photo from our engagement party staring at me. When I finally walked in, the place looked exactly the same as it had that morning. That was the cruel part. The kitchen table still had 2 columns of names. The vendor folder was still open. Natalie's shoes were still by the door. A box of wedding favors sat half-taped near the couch. My phone had 18 missed calls. Natalie. Natalie again. Mark. Unknown number. Natalie. My mother. Chris. Then the messages started. Natalie, you embarrassed me in front of everyone. Natalie, Mason was drunk. You know he didn't mean it like that. Natalie, please answer. Natalie, you can't just cancel our wedding because of one stupid fight. I sat at the kitchen table and stared at the seating chart. My name and Natalie's name were written at the top of the head table. Mason's name was 2 seats away from hers because she had insisted he be close. My phone rang again. This time, I answered. Natalie was crying. Robert, what is wrong with you? I closed my eyes. That's your opening? You left me there. You told me to apologize to him, or the wedding was over. I was upset. You were specific. He was drunk. I didn't end this because he was drunk. I ended it because you were sober. She went quiet. I continued. You heard what he said. You saw everyone hear it. And your reaction was to make me apologize to him. You humiliated me. No, Natalie. Mason humiliated both of us. You chose to protect him from consequences. She started crying harder. Can we please not throw everything away over one night? It wasn't one night. It was wedding stress. It was the clearest version of a pattern I've been trying to talk to you about for months. She snapped then. So that's it. You're just done. I'm not discussing this on the phone. Email me about wedding costs, shared items, and anything practical. Email, she said, like the word itself was cruel. Yes. You're treating me like a business problem. No, I'm refusing to let another emotional argument rewrite what happened. I hung up before the conversation could turn into a maze. The next morning, I woke up on the couch to my phone buzzing against my chest. I had slept maybe 2 hours. My mouth tasted like metal. The apartment was too quiet. The family group chat had exploded. One relative wrote, "Please tell me this is just a fight and not a canceled wedding." Another said, "Don't make a permanent decision on a drunk night." Someone from Natalie's side wrote, "People are flying in. This is embarrassing for both families." My mother had sent me a private message. "I love you. I saw enough. Do not let anyone rush you." I didn't want to argue with 30 people. I didn't want to dump private details into a chat full of relatives, vendors' cousins, and people who only knew pieces. But I also knew silence would create space for Mason and Natalie to make me the unstable groom who blew up over a joke. So I sent one message. I didn't end the wedding over one drunk insult. I ended it because Natalie demanded I apologize to the man who insulted me. I will handle logistics in writing. Please do not ask me to debate this in the group chat. Then I muted it. Canceling a wedding is not one dramatic phone call. It is 27 ugly emails and a spreadsheet you never wanted to make. The venue deposit was non-refundable. The photographer's final payment had not cleared yet, so I stopped that before the deadline. The florist could cancel part of the order, but not all of it. The caterer had not received the final head count, thank God, so that saved money. I did not have the emotional strength to celebrate saving. The DJ asked for a written cancellation. The honeymoon booking could be converted into travel credit after a fee that made me want to throw my laptop through a wall. I did not throw anything. I wrote emails. Please confirm in writing whether the cancellation applies to the full event or only reception services. Please remove my card from any future automatic charges related to this event. Please send documentation of any remaining balance and cancellation deadline. Dry sentences. Practical sentences. The kind you write when your life is on fire, but the fire still has invoices. Natalie called repeatedly. I didn't answer. She texted that I was being cold. then that I was punishing her, then that Mason had apologized to her for getting carried away, as if apologizing to the woman he had tried to sabotage was some noble act. She wrote, "He feels terrible." I replied, "He can feel terrible by leaving me alone." She wrote, "He wants to apologize to you." I replied, "No phone calls. Written only." Mason never wrote. That told me enough. By early afternoon, Mark called. I almost let it go to voicemail, but I respected Natalie's father. He had always been decent to me, even when he was uncomfortable. "Robert," he said, sounding exhausted, "I'm not calling to attack you. Okay. I'm asking you to sleep on this. Weddings make people emotional." Mason was drunk. Natalie is devastated. I'm devastated too. I know, but canceling this now is going to hurt everyone. Going through with it would hurt me for longer. He sighed. You and Natalie love each other. I believe I love the version of her who would defend our relationship. Last night, I met the version who would make me kneel to someone trying to ruin it. He was quiet for a moment. That sounds dramatic. It looked dramatic because she gave me the ultimatum in public. I only accepted it. He didn't like that, but he didn't argue immediately. Then he said, "Is there more I should know?" I thought about Chris's warning, Jenna's warning, the screenshots I had saved, Mason's group chat comments. I didn't want to be the man building a court case against the woman he had planned to marry. But I also wasn't going to be the man who let everyone call him crazy because facts made them uncomfortable. "I'll send you what I have if Natalie keeps saying this was about one drunk joke," I said. He said, "Fair enough." An hour later, Tessa sent me the video. Her message was short. "I don't want to be involved, but I also don't want anyone lying about what happened. I'm sorry, Robert." I sat at the kitchen table, the same stupid seating chart still in front of me, and pressed play. The video was only 43 seconds. It started with Mason mid-toast, cup in hand, voice loud and smug. Some people settle down because they're in love. Some people settle down because the spreadsheet says it's time. Then the settlement plan comment. Then the direct line. Deep down, you know she'd be happier if she didn't have to drag you into her life. The camera jerked slightly when people reacted. Then my voice, calm and flat. "The only person dragging himself into this wedding is you." Then Natalie, stepping in front of me. "Robert, apologize." The rest was clear enough. Her ultimatum. My answer. The silence after. I watched it once. Then again. It did not make me feel better. It made people quieter. When an uncle from Natalie's side texted me that I had overreacted to harmless drunk nonsense, I sent him the video and wrote, "This is the only explanation I'm giving." He did not reply. Mark called me back that evening. His voice was different. "I saw it," he said. "I'm sorry." "No," he said slowly. "I'm sorry." That was the first time anyone from Natalie's family said those words to me. He did not ask me to sleep on it again. I thought the video would be the worst of it. It wasn't. Jenna texted me just after midnight. I was still awake, sitting on the floor now because the kitchen chair had started to feel like a courtroom bench. Her message said, "I should have said something before the party. This wasn't just Mason being drunk." Then she sent screenshots. Not stolen, not hacked, not pulled from Natalie's private phone by me. Jenna had been in a bridesmaid chat where screenshots were shared from Natalie's synced wedding folder, the same folder where she had been saving makeup ideas, seating chart drafts, and vendor receipts. Natalie had deleted some message threads from her phone after the party, but screenshots had already been saved and circulated because, apparently, she and Mason thought their little comments were funny before everything blew up. The first screenshot was Natalie writing, "Robert needs to understand that my friends were here before him. If he can't handle that, maybe he's not ready to marry me." Mason replied, "Good. Make him prove he can handle me before he gets to marry you." Natalie responded with a laughing emoji, then, "Don't be evil." Mason wrote, "I'm serious. If he snaps, you'll see what I've been saying." Another screenshot showed Mason writing, "He won't last 1 year as your husband." Natalie replied, "Stop saying that in the main chat, lol." Not, "Don't disrespect my fiancé." Not, "I love him, back off." Just, stop saying that in the main chat. I read those messages until the words stopped looking like words. Jenna sent one more text. "I don't think you're crazy for leaving." I typed 3 different responses before settling on. "Thank you for sending these." Then I put my phone down and finally moved the seating chart off the table. I folded it once, then again, and shoved it into the vendor folder. The next morning, Natalie emailed me. The subject line was, "Can we please talk like adults?" The body was a mix of apology and accusation. She said she was sorry the party got out of hand. She said Mason had been wrong. She said I had scared her by ending things so quickly. She said she felt abandoned. She said everyone was asking questions. She said we could postpone instead of cancel. She said she could create better boundaries with Mason if that was what I needed. If that was what I needed. Like I had requested extra flowers. I replied, "I'll meet once in a public place to discuss practical matters only. I will not discuss continuing the wedding." She replied within 5 minutes. Fine. We met the next day at a quiet coffee shop. Neutral place. Daylight. No alcohol. No Mason. Natalie looked terrible, not in a satisfying way, in a human way. Her eyes were swollen, her hair was pulled back unevenly, and she kept twisting the engagement ring around her finger. For 1 second, seeing her like that almost broke me. This was the woman I had planned to marry. The woman whose coffee I drank too strong. The woman I had chosen over and over in small daily ways. Then she opened with, "I still think you punished me publicly." Whatever softness I had felt hardened into something steadier. "You gave me the ultimatum publicly," I said. "I accepted it publicly." She looked down. I was embarrassed. So was I. Mason was drunk. Mason planned it. Her eyes flicked up. I took printed copies of Jenna's screenshots from my folder and slid them across the table. Natalie stared at them. Her face went pale, then red. "Where did you get these?" "That's your first question?" "Robert." "Jenna sent them. They were in the wedding folder. I didn't access anything private." Natalie swallowed. "Those messages look bad." "They are bad. It wasn't like I cheated." That sentence told me she still did not understand what had broken. I leaned back. "No, you just let another man audition me for my own marriage." She flinched. I kept my voice low. "You knew Mason's feelings weren't normal friendship." She looked away. I waited. Finally, she said, "He gets intense sometimes." "That's not an answer." "He's always been protective of me." "That's not an answer either." She pressed her fingers to her eyes. "Fine. Yes. I knew he had complicated feelings." "Complicated?" "It's not like anything happened." "Something did happen. He became the person you let challenge my place in your life, and when I didn't bow to him, you threatened the wedding." She started crying again, quieter this time. I liked feeling like someone would fight for me. I hated how honest that sounded. I said, "You had a fiancé who would fight for you. You just like that Mason fought against me." She covered her mouth. "I didn't think of it that way," she whispered. "I believe you didn't want to think of it that way." She reached across the table. I did not take her hand. "Can we just slow down?" she asked. "Canceling everything is so final." "It is final." "Robert, please. You don't need more time to decide whether I deserve basic loyalty. You had years." Her face crumpled, and for a moment I had to look out the window because I was angry and sad and tired of being the calm one. When I looked back, I said, "We'll handle the ring through proper advice. We'll split or document whatever costs need to be split. Anything you need from the apartment, email me a list, and we'll schedule a time." She whispered, "You sound like you hate me." "I don't hate you. I just won't marry you." That was the last full conversation we had. The fallout came in waves. Some friends left the wedding group chats without saying anything. Some stayed and lurked. A few bridesmaids reached out to tell me Mason had been out of line for a long time, which was nice to hear and also infuriating because apparently everyone had been watching a fire spread while hoping someone else would call 911. Mason tried to act like the wounded party at first. He told people I had always hated him and that he was just trying to protect Natalie from a controlling marriage. But the video made that hard to sell. The screenshots made it impossible. He had wanted me to prove I was unstable. Instead, he proved he had been trying to sabotage the wedding. Natalie did not run to him the way I think he expected. That was his karma. He thought if I walked away, he would become the man who had been right all along. Instead, he became the reason her wedding collapsed in front of both families. From what I heard, she screamed at him over the phone 2 days later. Jenna told me Mason had shown up at Natalie's place with flowers and some speech about how maybe this was for the best. Natalie told him he had ruined her life and slammed the door in his face. I didn't celebrate that. But I didn't feel sorry for him either. Natalie's karma was quieter and probably worse. She lost the wedding image she cared so much about. She lost the innocent bride story because too many people had seen the video. She lost the ability to frame me as jealous once the screenshots showed she had helped turn my patience into a test. She emailed me 3 more times that week. The first said, "I know I handled it wrong, but I need you to understand I was under pressure too." The second said, "Mason is out of my life. Does that change anything?" The third said, "Can we talk after everyone calms down?" I answered only the third. Everyone being calm won't change what you asked me to accept. My mother came over that Saturday. She didn't bring a speech. She brought takeout and sat at my kitchen table, the same table where the seating chart used to be. For a while we ate in silence. Then she said, "Some people are going to say you should have waited until after the party. They already are." She nodded. Some people like a quieter ending because it lets them pretend the problem was smaller. I looked at her. She continued, "I saw her ask you to apologize. I saw your face when she said it. A marriage cannot start with the groom apologizing for being humiliated." That was when I finally cried. Not dramatic crying, just quiet, humiliating tears over cold noodles while my mother reached across the table and squeezed my wrist. "I really loved her," I said. "I know. I wasn't looking for a way out." "I know that too." The next couple of weeks were practical and awful. Wedding gifts had to be returned. Guests had to be told. Travel plans had to be unwound where possible. Some people were gracious. Some were nosy. A few acted like the money they had spent on flights gave them voting rights over my life. One older relative told me, "Marriage is about forgiveness." I said, "Forgiveness is not the same as marrying into disrespect." Another said, "He insulted you, but walking out like that was harsh." I said, "She made the wedding conditional on me apologizing to him. I accepted her condition." Mark eventually sent me an email that I still have saved. It said, "I wanted the wedding to continue because canceling felt humiliating. After seeing the messages, I understand why you could not continue. I am sorry for pushing you." That email meant more than he probably knew. Natalie moved her things out while I was away. Chris stayed at the apartment to make sure it stayed simple. She left the ring in a small box on the kitchen counter with a note that said, "I'm sorry I made you feel second." I stood there reading that note for a long time. Not because it fixed anything. It didn't. But because it was the first time she had written the truth without wrapping it in Mason's alcohol, wedding stress, or my supposed insecurity. I put the ring box in my desk drawer and forwarded a photo of it to the attorney I had consulted, asking how to handle it correctly. No dramatic pawn shop revenge. No social media post. Just one more practical step in a situation that had already taken enough from me. Eventually, the apartment stopped looking like a failed wedding. The favors went into the trash after I got tired of seeing them. The vendor folder went into a drawer. The seating chart stayed folded inside it, a paper map of a life I almost walked into. People still debated it. I know that. Some thought I should have pulled Natalie aside privately. Some thought I should have waited until everyone was sober. Some thought canceling in front of guests was humiliating. I understand why they wanted a cleaner story. I wanted one too. But I was not the one who made it public. Mason insulted me publicly. Natalie gave the ultimatum publicly. I answered publicly. That was the part people kept trying to soften because the truth made the whole thing harder to excuse. I did not walk away happy. I walked away embarrassed, grieving, and relieved in a way I did not know how to admit at first. I lost money. I lost sleep. I lost the future I had been picturing every time I answered a vendor email or moved someone's name around the seating chart. But I also lost the pressure to keep proving I was good enough to stand next to the woman who had already chosen to let someone else judge me. I used to think being calm meant giving people more chances to understand they were hurting you. Now I think calm can also be the way you close the door without slamming it. I did not cancel my wedding because one drunk guy insulted me. I canceled it because the woman I was about to marry asked me to kneel to the insult and call it love. If you like the stories, don't forget to leave a comment and support the channel by subscribing. See you in the upcoming stories.